Hi everyone. So this is kind of a re-performance of a presentation I made at the 2024 Music School of the Future conference held in Makhanda in South Africa, and I just wanted to share this with everyone because I found it interesting to do the research and create it, and hopefully it can be useful for someone out there. This is obviously from a South African context, and I'm not going to show all the videos that I showed in the presentation because this is YouTube. So I'll just leave all the links to those videos in the description and try and make some, cards as well that you can click on. So I would like you, as a music teacher, to picture that you are in one of your grade 9 music classes. This is, full of 14, 15-year-olds. And for the past lesson or two, you've been discussing the building blocks of composition. You've possibly spoken about melody, bass, rhythmic drive, harmony, variation and structure, build and release of tension. So, with that in mind, please go to this website, learningmusic.ableton.com. You can do this on a laptop or on a phone or a tablet. Feel free to pause this video and go there. There are no subscriptions or accounts or cookies. This is a really fantastic website. So, I would like you to play with the screen that you land on. Let's go there now. Here's where we land. And we've got some easy buttons that... So hopefully you can see how this could be really engaging for this kind of age of learners. And certainly when I tried it with my class, they were just going wild, showing me their creations that they've made. Now, obviously, we have to explain to them, this is not really making your own music. This is just selecting a bunch of loops. But there is certainly some creativity in how you join them together. And certainly a lot of music is made these days by joining together small groups, small loops or small sections of music into larger works. Now, over in the top left corner here, depending on what device you're on, it might be the top right. And this is the chapters of all of these different sections of learning that you can do with this website, which is free to use. So Ableton has really done a fantastic job putting this together, and I can recommend it to anyone to work through with classes. If they've got computers, even phones, that's all you need. And it has some really good, it's all interactive lessons built to be intuitive, and they're full of gems about making, obviously, primarily popular music, but with modern tools and including some real-world examples. So, okay, let's put our devices away, please. So in today's presentation, we'll look at what do the current curricula say about music technology, and of course, this is the South African music curricula, and we're especially looking at grades 10 to 12, or the final 3 years of high school. And then what can we do with music technology in all aspects of the music curriculum, in music literacy, general music knowledge, performance, and of course comprehension or aural? What can we do to make our lives easier and also to provide a better, more relevant music education for our students or our learners? Now, you won't necessarily want to do all of these things, but even if you get inspired to try out one of these things, I think we're moving in the right direction. Now, I have focused on the high school syllabi, but I'm sure some of these principles and techniques can be brought into the primary school age group as well. Okay, so for creative arts, this is in the government syllabus. For creative arts, on page 57, grade 8, topic 3, it says, performing and creating music, recommended resources optional, music technology and software. That's all they give us. All right. And in the CAPS Music 2011, we have nice one in grade 10. Understand the technology of your chosen solo instrument. Okay, it's not music technology as we think about it these days, but certainly that's a useful thing to know. In grade 11, the essay writing PAT, there is an option to write about the influence of technology on music. Unfortunately, that both of those, the grade 10 and the grade 11 one, those PATs were done away with fairly recently, so there's nothing left in there anymore. And then for the matric PAT, We have the written or typed score, which includes a performance or a recording, electronic or acoustic, and that's pretty much all we get for there. However, there was this final draft from the 17th of September I found, and I think someone at the conference said it was from 2012 or possibly 2011, and it never got any further than being a draft. But this one has some really interesting things, including showing that music is an art form that can be combined with other forms, often enhanced by technology. I really like that statement. And creative work or technology should be part of the curriculum at least a third of the time. Although they had 4 different items that should all be at least a third of the time. So, maybe it had some flaws, but there was certainly some great stuff. Let's go and have a look at some detail. It said, for topic 3, I think this was in grade 10, in technology, working with computer software and applications, setting up equipment, sound equipment, recording of sound. Also, we had creative work, using software and internet programs to record and arrange music. These are all fantastic things that we should be doing with our learners if we want to prepare them for the music world outside. And very similar, I think, for grade 11 in FET music. Yeah, very similar things. Okay, what about the IEB? The independent schools, do they do things better? Well, in the composition section, we have use available technology to compose, arrange, and present a musical work. That's good. That's a good start. In section E of music literacy, we have use available technology, such as notational software, and particularly for the common assessment task, which I think is also composition and melody writing. Okay, fine. There's something. And there, the melody writing, use available technology, such as notational software. In fact, on page 8, there's a whole section on music technology, but just no detail. So what's the result of this? Well, there's almost nothing left in caps. The IEB has more, but what is there is vague and completely leaves it up to the teacher to do what they can or they have knowledge of, which means that most teachers stick only to what they know. Okay, this is understandable given the different levels of technology available in South African schools, yes. But because I presume that most of us here at this conference are in schools that are willing to provide resources for music education, I think that we can take these vague guidelines and start pushing them to their breaking limit, improving our learners' understanding and skills with music technology, as well as providing better music education and hopefully making the teacher's job easier. What would an ideal curriculum look like? Well, probably something like that final draft of the caps, except with some additions. How about music production as an instrument to matric? I know this is something that many people have been trying to get right. So far, not yet. We would learn basic recording techniques, the theory of sound and music, use of alternate notational systems, and we'll get into that just now, basic use of a digital audio workstation and the effects. How about learning about self-publishing in the digital world? And of course, an important one these days, AI in music, and particularly in general music knowledge, this can come in. All right, so let's see how we can integrate music technology into our existing syllabus. It can be useful to categorize those new technologies based on their SAMR level of integration. So here's a chart we have. We've got substitution, of course, just replacing, augmentation, replacing, but so that it improves, modification, where we have to actually redesign this thing so that it works better with the technology we have, and a redefinition where we just have to, we've got new tasks that were unimaginable before. Okay. And primarily we're going to be looking at the substitution and augmentation level because we're not able to change the syllabus, right? The syllabus is what it is, and we're trying to just make some better use of technology and implement some of these things for our students. However, we will delve a little bit into modification and even perhaps redefinition, just because it's so much fun to think about what we could be doing. And these things are really cool. Let's start with music literacy. Music literacy is intended to give learners the tools and understanding to analyze, modify, and create music, right? So this has traditionally been done almost exclusively within the framework of Western notation and the old view of music theory. But the IEB curriculum in particular, while still oriented in this way, does leave scope for some other methods of music literacy that technology can assist with. On the substitution side, we have music notation software. Products like MuseScore, Sibelius, Finale, Dorico. Obviously, MuseScore is my favorite. If you know this channel, you know that I have been making MuseScore tutorials for a while. It's free, it's open source, it's really quite good, and very importantly for me, our learners will be able to keep using it after they leave school, anytime they get that inspiration to write music. So if we can give them the tools to use that, we're setting them up for life, and not just while they're in an institution that happens to have licenses for these apps. It can be used for making good-looking tests and worksheets, and if you want to see some more of that, I've got some videos on how to do that for you music teachers out there. But using music notation software, we can also demonstrate or explore concepts while the learners see the notation, but they can also hear it at the same time. Something like working with intervals comes immediately to mind. So often we do this, we write the interval on a board and then have to keep running to the piano. Why? It could all be there on the software. There's also potential for creative collaboration, either as a class, in groups, virtually, internationally, who knows. Composing to film, I would love to have. It's not currently possible with MuseScore, but hopefully they're going to add that feature in the next couple of iterations. On the augmentation or modification side, where things start getting fun, we have that learnmusic.ableton that we saw at the beginning. We've got apps like GarageBand, which are free for if you have a Mac. There's Waveform, which is free, BandLab, which is free for Android and iOS, I think. It also can be used as an online digital audio workstation in a browser. So there's many options. So let's give our students the knowledge of how to use the basics of digital audio workstations. And I say preferably in parallel. And obviously, full disclosure, I don't do this currently, but I would love to be able to. So we talked about the Ableton website already with their great ready-made lessons. And this could be an excellent extension of concepts already learned in traditional notation. Or it could be a great way to introduce concepts and get the students excited about it before bringing it to traditional notation. But we can also take this in a slightly different direction, and I think particularly with grade 9s, by examining the ideas of complexity of timbre, the main driving force in popular music, compared of course to the harmonic and melodic driving force of Western classical music. Examining audio effects and playing with synthesizers, having sound design can be a great way to do this, and I think is just as educationally valid as learning about harmony and rhythm. On to the fun things. What if we redefine what it means to be musically literate? What about some procedural music, like live coding? And I'll link to this video of Sonic Pi, which is very exciting to me. Perhaps even video game audio. We can teach about the horizontal versus the vertical approach with tools like Wise and Fmod. So, as an example of that, think about your character walking along in a game, but then they enter a new area, like a cave, and then enemies appear, and the music has to change to reflect that. And, amazingly, this can happen at any time. So the horizontal approach uses short sections of music that can transition to one another smoothly, depending on the circumstances, while the vertical approach at the top here uses various layers to make up a single piece of music that can be easily swapped out to change the feel of the music. Now, these sound like complex concepts that maybe our top matrics could experiment with in their compositions. But actually, it could be such a great project to get creative arts classes or ensembles to come up with these rules, essentially coding, for how they change music depending on some external action, and improvise this kind of thing live. Whenever the headmaster walks across the stage, we do something different. And of course, no conversation is complete without talking about AI-enhanced or integrated music. Perhaps we can have a musical conversation composition, because music is not only being created note by note anymore. AI has become a huge force in music, and it's been so quick that when I started working on this presentation, people were trying to get ChatGPT to output MIDI notes and create their music like that, and now entire songs are being created just with text prompts. I believe we should be exposing our learners to how generative, processing, and analytical AI tools can work with music. I would love to see a grade 12 composition that utilizes AI and then extends it with their own creativity. General music knowledge aims to give learners the tools to analyze, appreciate, and discuss music from a variety of styles and cultures. So, how can music technology change the way we look at music history? On the substitution side, it's very easy to create YouTube playlists of music or Spotify playlists instead of using the old-fashioned CDs, and I suspect most people are doing this now. This means that you can share it with a link, Learners can access it anywhere if they have internet. It also means that we can allow learners to explore far deeper into a style if the learners would like to do that. On the augmentation side, we have augmented reality or virtual reality. And now, while VR and AR certainly aren't cheap, they could provide learners with increased immersion into the history and context of music that we learn about. Binaural audio recordings are a similar sort of virtual reality for audio technology. If you haven't tried the virtual barbershop video, you're missing out. I don't know of any music education themed content available at this stage, but the technology has that potential. Still on the augmentation side, we have some AI tools. And the first one I want to look at is Audacity's AI music separation tool. This allows us to listen to sections on their own. And in fact, we've used this in a class already this year. In grade 10, I used it with my class to listen to the bass of Klop Klop, which is a Guma song that we listened to in class. And we identified the bass line. So let's have a look. Okay, so here's Audacity, and here is the full song, right? And we've got we've got vocals and drums and all kinds of things. And what's great about this is we can extract with AI some fairly high quality sounds. Let's take off that. Let's have the bass. And as we were doing this in class, one of the learners said, hang on, that sounds like the Burumusik bass lines that we were listening to earlier this year. And they were right, because so it just allowed us to listen to sections on their own and analyze them and discuss them in class. ChatGPT, of course, has been around for a little while, and lots of teachers have been engaging with it. I've heard of some people using the whole chat to a composer. You can tell ChatGPT to pretend that it is, say, Haydn or Beethoven, and then talk to them about some of their music. Could be a really good way to engage learners with some of the history concepts. You could also take a different approach and ask learners to tabulate, for example, the musical elements and how they compare, which is a common IEB thing, or how they're typical of a style, which is we use in CAPS quite a lot. And you could feed that table into ChatGPT and ask for an example of an essay structure. Of course, we need to check this. So here we go. I used the song Call Me Maybe by Carly Rae Jepsen. I put in these things in the table. Here's what the lyrics were in that section. The mood that the lyrics kind of created, and then how did the music support the mood. And I fed that into ChatGPT. I said, I have this table of lyrics, here's the table, and it's, okay, there's the prompt. And then ChatGPT said, sure, here's a paragraph. And it says, I threw a wish in the well, sings Carly Rae Jepsen in a tense tone, supported by the repeated quavers in the strings that echo her uncertainty and longing. Transitioning to a hopeful sentiment, she croons, Your Stare Was Holden, as the music lifts with higher-pitched vocals and additional percussion, harmonies blending in to emphasize the burgeoning optimism. I mean, burgeoning, goodness. So I know that this scares people because learners will use it to cheat. Yes, they will. But it can also give them examples of well-formulated essays and ideas of how to put the thoughts they have into paragraphs or even complete essays that make sense. So I would like to use this as examples, not as creating something themselves. Of course, fact-checking is crucial when using AI, and in fact, in my assignment, I asked the learners to comment as part of the assignment on their experience and how accurate and how useful ChatGPT was. And this is certainly a part of using AI that we need to engage with. What about generative AI music and what it's doing to the music industry? I think we should be having these conversations with our learners, because these lawsuits and innovations will affect them directly. Hopefully you know already about the Udio and Suno current lawsuits with the top 3 record labels, and that's still ongoing, but there have been some really interesting developments through that. But these have the potential to change how the music industry operates entirely. Making prompts is also a great way to make them more comfortable with using the elements of music, which I know is a big part of the IEB syllabus for general music knowledge. So just as an example, I decided for this conference, I would make a piece of music using Udio, which anyone can sign up for. And I think you get a couple of free songs per day or per week. And so here's one that I created just for this conference. Have a listen.
Guitar strumming through the morning light, coffee brewing, folks are feeling right. Piano sessions learning all day long, singing, swing, gotta sing that song. Meet me at the conference, the music's strong. We'll learn and play together all day long. From dawn to dusk, we'll hit the heights. The melody and harmony collide.
I think people maybe didn't think that this was real, and so we decided to make our own on the spot. And so we started this prompt. Let's just go find it. We used this prompt: a song about acne in a musical theatre style with a lot of syncopation in a minor key with a recorder solo. There's some really good musical elements there, right? And this is what it came up with.
Gotta sit right on your nose. Watch it throw, it's so grotesque. Use a cream, try a scrub, but this pimple just won't budge, and it's turning into quite a quest. Hop, hop, squeezing out all night, trying to find Victor acne so revealing. Hop, hop, feeling so uptight.
Obviously, I don't think anyone would go and watch this musical performance, this musical theatre. But just the fact that it can do it is astounding. In music performance lessons, we aim to give learners specialized knowledge and tools to create meaningful performances. Technology can certainly help our learners to progress and even change the way we approach performance. Substitution. I think there are apps for so many things these days. We have smartphone metronome apps, tuner apps. There's digital sheet music, of course. MuseScore.com is sort of leading the way with how things are going there. There's the old kind of sheet music direct, but they're also turning into subscriptions these days. You get sight reading apps, improvisation backtracks in Spotify, YouTube. Great for learning improvisation and just experimenting. There are apps to track your practice and kind of give you rewards if you keep practicing every day. Perhaps one day we'll even see gamification of scales. In the augmentation category, I believe that learning recording techniques and sound reinforcement principles can help our learners become better performers. When it comes to recording technology, we could go into the best microphones and equipment, but a photographer once said, the best camera is the one you have on you when you need it, and I think it's the same for microphones most of the time. Recording can be an excellent method of self-critique, though it is harsh, which is why we actually need to learn how to listen to our own performances to get the most out of them without ruining our self-esteem. How many times do we lament how many music students never play their instrument after matric? Perhaps they don't have the tools to keep performing outside of the comfortable, rigid guidelines of the school orchestra or music exams. In this creator economy, more and more people are using online tools to perform. So shouldn't we also be helping our learners to navigate this aspect safely? Live looping combines composition with improvisation and performance technique in a way that, when it's properly done, is really amazing to see, and I'll leave a link to this video in the description as well. And software to do this is also fairly easy to come by. Ableton Live is the easiest to use, and schools can apply for free licenses. And you do also get hardware live looping devices. We've already spoken about live coding as a performance method, but I believe that music production can also take on an element of performance, and so can DJing. In music production, we often think of the click and loop style of music production, but music producers also have real-time tools that allow them to be expressive and require an understanding of technique and performance. And this could be a perfect place for music students to learn performance skills. In music comprehension, or Aural classes, we want to give learners the aural skills to recognize and work with elements of music that they cannot analyze by sight, as well as basic sight singing skills. So, to substitute, we have some training apps. Musictheory.net is a wonderful free website, and I really like it because you can customize the exercises, grab the link for those particular exercises and put them on your Google Classroom, or make QR codes around your classroom, and just allow students to practice as they need to. There's also the Complete Rhythm Trainer, which I enjoy, and I've tried the Complete Aural Trainer as well, but haven't got very far with it, and of course the more high-end Aurelia. But how about even using AI-generated music for some form and analysis? We can guarantee that they will never have heard the music before. But perhaps we should also be modifying how we teach comprehension and aural. Perhaps in this day and age we should be recognizing AI versus human-made music, and there's a video example I can give you from Ray Chen. But also, shouldn't we be training our learners to hear layers in music or describe the timbral quality? This can help them gain an increased appreciation for the production value of contemporary music. Like I've said, if you would like the links to any of these things I've discussed, I'll put them down in the description. But also, these are ongoing conversations, and I'm sure that you have your own tools and tips for integrating technology that we would all love to hear about now. So feel free to go into that comment section and tell us what you're doing and how you can improve using music technology in our music syllabus. Thank you. Bye.